Welcome back, class, to another live stream of Animation Collab, where I experiment with new techniques in my animation laboratory in collaboration with other content creators. My name is Sonja, and I'm a motion designer. Subscribe if you haven't already. I live stream every Tuesday and Friday, and if you'd like to support me, you can give this video a thumbs up, you can comment below, and share this video with your friends. Today, we're going to continue the collaboration with Andy. He's a cybersecurity expert who does videos on his YouTube channel, and I'm helping him animate one of his upcoming videos. Today we're gonna animate another scene of that video that I've been illustrating and storyboarding. If you've missed any of the past streams, you can catch up. All the replays of the past live streams are on my YouTube channel. So let's jump right in. Here's the animation that we have so far, and what we did last time was animate this, let's see where it is. It's the framework. I have a bunch of duplicates here. I wonder what this is. I think I duplicated something that wasn't supposed to be duplicated. So let's have a look. Okay, so this is the animation of the columns. And I guess there are still a few things that need to be animated here. So let's, which one is, okay. So I think I need to change my naming here a little bit because, and also I will change the view here a little bit. So, I see. Okay, let me just check here. Okay, there we go. Okay, so basically what I've got here is this column and the screen, but the column is actually part of the screen. So I think I'm gonna actually move this over here, so I can see a little bit more of this. Okay, so what I try to do with my naming conventions is that it's immediately obvious what belongs together. And you're not able to see this now, but I can make this larger. You can see that there is this subcomp and this pre-comp here called column. And the column is part of the screen composition, but because they're all templates, because I'm going to use them multiple times in the animation, I don't want to make them scenes. So that means I need to find a different way. So if they were pre-compositions within a scene, what I would do is, if this was the main scene and then I have a pre-comp that is part of that scene, I would add an A at the end of my naming. That way it's immediately clear that this scene is inside of that scene, okay? With templates, I've not come to a conclusive way of doing it, but what I often do is I name one scene something, like, what even is this? Oh, okay. So this is the attack framework. You know what? I'm just gonna make this name slightly shorter. Framework. Let's just call it framework. Then this screen is part of that framework template. So what I do is I'll call it framework, then something, an additional name, and that way, because the first part of the naming is the same, they kind of sequence each other, or sequence in the correct order. And then I would therefore need to call this T framework, then underscore screen, then underscore column. That way, it's still not quite doing what I'm expecting it to do. Maybe there's a typo. There's a typo. Okay. All right, so now I can see in the order of these compositions, I can see which hierarchy they have. The one at the top is the parent composition, and the ones below are the child compositions, and with the naming I can also tell which child belongs to which parent. So I like to do it that way to give a little bit more clarity in my folder and file and After Effects structure. So we've got this here. We've got the column animating here, but what we also have is all of these additional items. And they are gonna have to show up at some point, because this framework looks like this, and it animates in like this. At first, not much is happening. At first, this whole thing is just kind of animating in, but then after that, these items need to show up. And also, we have this prof character that shows up and kind of points at the different items on the board. So those are a few things that still need to happen. So that's what we're gonna do. So first of all, let's have a look at the storyboard. Ooh, what are you doing that for? Okay. So, this is what it looks like. So this is what we've already done. It looks a little bit different in the storyboard because I wasn't sure how I was going to animate this yet. But it looks something like this, and I can also make this slightly smaller so that you can see the whole thing. There we go. And that's basically it. So for this first scene, we're not actually bringing the character in, but the character is going to come in a later scene. And also we have a few other things that are supposed to happen. So we have this that is supposed to happen. We have the column highlight that is supposed to happen. And we have the singular highlight that is supposed to happen. So, and then eventually this thing is going to happen. So all of these different animations are supposed to happen at some stage in this template so that I can use them at different times in this animation, because we have a third scene where we're also using this template, and that's right at the very end where we're playing back this highlight sequence. And I was playing with the idea of first having just this plain framework, and then the screen comes over it and kind of shows the map of the hacking attempt. So now I've changed my mind, and I'm going to create this as the template that I'm going to use for all of the scenes that we see this framework in. Exactly, yep, that's what I set up last time. For all of the arrows, they are now shapes with a tapered end. I can show you what that looks like. Let's see. So it has a start length of 70 and an end length of 20. That's here. I'll just go to the zoom so you can see a little bit better. So these are the settings for the taper so that the design looks something like this, and I can zoom in there too. And that looks pretty close to the brush design that I had set up in Illustrator. So now I need to come up with a method of how I'm going to bring all of these different stages of the animation into this composition so that I can call them up later. And I think what I'm going to do is I could do some fancy expression thing with markers, but I think I haven't done that a lot, so figuring that out is going to take longer than just using time remapping. So I think I'm going to just do that. And maybe I can use protected regions to keep some of the animation stable. I don't know. I'll see. But first of all, first we have all of the columns, and let's give this a second. +1 second. And then the next stage of the animation should happen. So let's have a look. What is the next stage of the animation? That's the highlighting. So now I'm going to highlight some of these. So I think what I'm going to do, I'm just going to do a very simple just fade in animation. And yeah, I'm just going to key the opacity. Wrong shortcut. And then, I don't know, 20 frames forward. And we'll start at 0 on these. And I'm just going to turn off all of these because we're not using them right now. So I don't want to get confused. And I'm just going to put a simple easy ease on that. And I'm going to give it a shift of like, let's say 3 frames. And I want it to be descending, so from the bottom to the top. And this Dojo Shifter plugin, that's a free plugin. It's really easy to use if you want to shift keyframes. There are a whole bunch of other plugins, some paid, some free, that I've used in the past. And this is by far the one I keep going back to. I also have Rift. It's a paid for plugin, and I find that just overly complicated. So I always keep going back to Dojo Shifter to sequence layers. Okay, and then basically, okay, that's not exactly what I want to happen. Okay, so let's have a look at the text. Each individual item is an offensive cyber technique. I think at this point we actually should be bringing in the audio. So why don't I just do that? Because we do have a draft audio from Andy. And just need to find the folder. And we've got audio here. And there are 2 ways of how I tend to work with audio. Most of the time, I put my audio track in my animation main, so where all of the scenes of the animation will be. And then I usually find the point where I want to adjust the audio. Let me bring the, yep, there we go. And how long is that? That's like, yeah, that's probably fine. And I probably need to change my, actually no, I'll leave it as it is, and I'm gonna put my headphones on so I can hear.
Hi there, I'm Andy, and in this video we'll be exploring Mita Attack, the framework which...
Okay, great. So...
Hi there, I'm Andy.
Yeah, I think I can push this back just a little bit. A super deep voice on Andy on this one. I'm not used to him sounding like that.
Hi there, I'm Andy, and in this video we'll be exploring Mita...
Yeah, so... At this point, I would go in and say, at what point do I want this to happen? It's actually when he says each individual item. So let's go to that part. And I can hold control and scrub through.
Attack, Detect, Defend series.
Okay.
For tactics, techniques, and common knowledge. It's a body of knowledge which has been built up over many years, covering the various methods.
So that's actually quite a while down, because there's a bunch of scenes coming before I want to have the highlights happening.
MITRE is the organization which...
Okay, so that's... MITRE is the organization, is this scene, so it should be right after that. So let's scroll over here. Let's make this a little smaller. I'll remove some of these things here, just because we don't have a lot of real estate. What were the switches that I just turned off? Yeah, we probably don't need those right now. So I'll just hide that. Save that to my workspace.
as well as scoring vulnerabilities. Let's take a look at the attack framework.
Okay, so these pauses are really long. At some point I will cut them down, but just because there is a few scenes going on beforehand, I'm not going to make changes to the timing just now, just because I don't know how long the animation will need to be for those scenes. So maybe I'll need this pause, maybe I won't. So I'm just gonna go by the original timing of the voiceover, and then I'm gonna adjust the spacing later.
Let's take a look at the attack framework. Each individual...
Okay, so let's take a look. Okay, this is the beginning of the scene. Each individual item is the sentence we're looking for.
Each individual item is...
Okay, so that happens at some point around here. And I also am not sure why this has a 3 next to it. So this is my usual way of animating this. There is, however, oh, now I opened that as a window. There is another way I sometimes approach this, and that is that I can bring the audio track into the scene, which is this scene, and I make it a guide layer. That way I can animate in this scene with this audio, but without it doubling up when I render it, because I do still want to have the audio in my main comp when I make changes between scenes. So that each one of these comps that is going to be in this composition is going to be all the singular scenes of the storyboard. So if I want to make changes in the transition, I do want my audio to be here, and I want all of the cuts of the audio to be here rather than inside of the composition. You can go either way with this, but in the end, your bird's eye view edits, so the macro is the opposite, the large scale edits you're going to make are going to be at the scene level, so that's probably where you want your main audio to be. I actually prefer making audio edits in After Effects, because then I don't have to jump in between two different files. This is also another reason why I like to keep the audio file separate from any other audio files or from any other scene files, any other layers, because then this composition, the animation composition, doesn't get so heavy with a bunch of layers, because I'm going to be making cuts in here. Another reason why I don't like to pre-cut my audio in Audition is because I don't know how much space I'm going to need. Sometimes the transition is going to have to need a longer time, sometimes a shorter time. So pre-cutting and removing silences is it's too rigid a way for the way I animate. I need to be more flexible, and in that case it's easier just to cut the audio in After Effects, because I can just, you know, Control-Shift-D, cut that, and then remove that silence. Right, yeah, markers, if you do edit your audio in Audition, the markers do stay. And, sorry, the silences, when I'm not talking, that's when I'm reading the chat, if that's confusing to you. But yeah, yes, markers can be exported as metadata, and they remain in the audio track. But usually I do this type of work for my online classes, for example, because it has very set timings, and then I can still crop some things out in Premiere Pro, but that's also because I record my voice in Audition, so it's already in there. But with animation and After Effects, it would be an additional step and actually slow down my workflow if I was to bring Audition into the mix. So I don't tend to do that. It's not necessarily a bad thing to do that. It's not wrong or anything. Some people have other methods, and if that works for you, then more power to you. It's just not my way of working. So now I've already lost where I was.
Framework. Each individual item is
okay, right. We were inside of this framework. So I'm just going to make the executive decision of just going by the timing in here, because if I'm using time remapping keyframes to switch between the scenes or play back the scenes, then yeah, it doesn't really matter what the timing is. I can just grab those keyframes and then I can move them to wherever I need them to be. So let's I could also, another thing I could do, there's a few ways I could approach this. But anyway, let's just create those keyframes, and then I can think about what way I want
Each individual item is
which way I want to bring, like, call on this animation. Hi, welcome! Thanks, Ken. Thank you for joining the stream. Okay, so this is... Actually, we can just name this by scene. Oh, I didn't keep the scene numbers in here, did I? I did. So this is scene 3. So let's just call this number 3. And now I can just... I actually need to go inside of the framework screen, so I'll grab the audio, and actually I'm gonna just bring it up to the top, and I'll just give this number 3. And now, and I also want this on my comp so that it's on top of the comp later. Okay, so each individual item. So that is now happening way, way, way later than I thought it was gonna happen. And let's see how long this animation is supposed to last. Not that long, actually. Each individual item is an offensive cyber technique, and then they're grouped into columns. So as soon as he says they're grouped into columns, that's when the next stage of the animation is supposed to happen.
Each individual item is an offensive cyber technique. They're grouped into...
Exactly. So now this is the next stage. So that means this can actually happen slightly slower. So let's say 10 frames maybe. Yeah, okay. I don't want this animation to finish later than here, but actually I want them to animate off as well. So let's bring them back and let's animate them in, and then 20 frames, and then let's animate them back. So I'm going to I need to make this a little larger. I can clone these and then right click. You can't see that. Yeah, unfortunately it's off the screen just there. I can right click, then go to keyframe assistant and time reverse keyframes. That just reverses them. Yeah, flips them around so that these keyframes, oh, you can't see that either. Sorry, I'm not used to the screen being so tiny on the on the stream. There's like a huge chunk of After Effects that isn't shown in the stream, but I can see it, so I need to get used to that. You can't see that. Okay. So, basically we want this to turn on and off, so maybe we need the sequence to be like 5 frames. And at this point, I'm really just figuring things out. Yeah, and it finishes exactly on the point where the next animation is supposed to start, so that's perfect. So right now, I don't have a concrete plan, right? I'm looking at the audio that I have to work with, and I'm looking at how much time do I have for this particular animation to happen, and then I'm just trying things out. This isn't... I mean, I have experience in approximately how far apart certain keyframes should be for it to look smooth or to look pleasing, but apart from that, I am really just trying things to see if they work. Okay, so at this point, I actually need this entire column to get colored in, but that's kind of difficult because if I color one column in, all of them get colored in. But maybe I can create a duplicate of this column. Okay, let's just do that. Column blue. Actually, no, you know what? I don't need to do that. I can just color in the pre-comp of this. So let's go back to the framework. I need to close some of these pre-comps. I have too many pre-comps open and it's super confusing as to where I am. So I don't need this one. All right, so what I can do is I can just grab this column and I can give it a fill. I need to go to my effects and presets and look for fill. I can drop this fill on here, and actually I don't know if that's the thing I'd like to do, because actually yes, yeah, it can play with the opacity. So first I need the color of this guy. And I'm choosing the center column because it's the longest one and it's right in the field of vision for the viewer. If Andy doesn't like that, we can just choose a different column. That's totally fine. But for now, I'm just going to choose this one and I'm going to play with the opacity of this fill. So let's push this 2 keyframes forward, bring it down to 0 and use an easy ease, which is F9 in After Effects. And then that's the opacity of the entire layer. That's obviously not what I want. I thought it was just the opacity of the color. Yeah, that sucks. That's not what I want at all. What I could do is duplicate this column. Whoops, no, I just duplicated the fill. Duplicate this column with the fill on top. There's a few other ways I could do this. I could also just not use a fill. I could use a different effect that might have the same effect. There's color change, there's change to color, these could also work, but I think I'm gonna just try it with this one. And what I can do is I can just crop this layer here so we don't have any of the beginning animation. And now it's just gonna turn blue, and that's going to take how long? Until he says broadly aligned to the type of effect that the techniques aim to achieve. Okay, so let's see. Let's see what this whole thing looks like. And actually, I want to turn this off, and I want the background color to be the color of the screen, so it doesn't just become white or black in this case. What I can do is I can go to the composition settings, and here I can change the background color, and I can just eyedrop this and make it the color of the screen. That disappears as soon as I so you can't see the screen. Okay, I think I actually need to make this After Effects screen smaller because you cannot see everything. Okay, let's do it like this. Where are we? There. Okay, there we go. Now you can see all the layers that I can see, and I'm not getting confused. So basically, let's bring this down. So yeah, so now you should be able to see all the layers that I can see. I've made the window a little smaller. There's a little bit of a mismatch, or there was until now, between what I can see on my screen and what you can see on the stream, because there's like a crop going on. It's a long story, but now you should hopefully see all of the layers that I'm talking about. And basically, what I did was I turned this screen layer into a guide layer, and that means it doesn't get rendered. So anytime I preview render this, it also disappears. So to avoid that and to keep this color of the screen, I just made Control K, I just made the background color the same color as the screen color. And usually I don't do that, I'll just keep it at white or black or whatever, but in this case it's kind of useful. So let's have a look.
Each individual item is an offensive cyber...
Oh yeah, and at some point After Effects can't handle it, and it does the weird monster voice. Okay, let's see where Andy takes a breath. That's about when that scene should finish. So I'm just gonna pre-render that, and hopefully it won't do the monster voice. And then I'll try again.
Each individual item is an offensive cyber technique. They're grouped into columns, the tactics, broadly aligned to the type of effect that...
Okay, so what did we say? Aim to achieve is when it finishes. So
each individual item is
somewhere around here.
To the type of effect that the techniques aim to achieve.
Yeah, so I wonder. I'm thinking if I can make this a little bit more interesting and work with the numbers of the column, the items in the column. So it's supposed to have 25, but maybe if I animate this from 0, yeah, they kind of show up together. I don't know if that looks cool, if that's lame. Let's have a look.
They're grouped into columns. The tactics. They're grouped into columns.
Definitely needs more time. 1, 2, 3, 4 frames. 40 frames. Let's try that. Takes a while to pre-render. And sometimes it doesn't even show me that it's pre-rendering. It's really annoying. I just have to kind of imagine that it's doing it. Okay, as soon as it's got it pre-rendered, I'll make this larger for you to see.
Each individual item is an offensive cyber technique. They're grouped into columns. The tactics broadly aligned to the type of effect that the techniques aim to achieve. Each individual item is an offensive cyber technique. They're grouped into columns. The tactics broadly aligned to the type of effect that the techniques aim to achieve.
This feels a little bit... I don't know. Maybe I can just make the animation of the items less so that it finishes before the full color finishes. I don't know. Let's try that. Yeah, I think I do. It's always a little bit anxiety inducing. So sorry, I forgot that you don't see the chat anymore. So the question was, do I get anxious? Oh, hang on. Do I get anxious before a final video goes live? And I did used to, when I used to work at a large YouTube channel that produced edutainment videos. And I did get kind of nervous. What would people think? What would the comments be like? Did we do a good job? Would the people like it? Did we explain the thing well? So, yeah, I think I do. Not so much now because I don't really produce edited content so much. I guess I do produce my online classes, and I do get a little bit anxious about how it's going to perform. But I guess my audience is still pretty small, so in the first few days, not that much happens, and then the views kind of ramp up over time, so it's a little anticlimactic at my stage of followership. Okay, let's watch this.
Each individual item is an offensive cyber technique. They're grouped into columns. The tactics broadly aligned to the type of effect that the techniques aim to achieve. Each individual item is an offensive cyber technique. They're grouped into columns. The tactics broadly aligned to the type of effect that the techniques aim to achieve. Each individual...
Yeah, I think that's okay. And then it has to animate off, and I think the animate off is just going to be a straight fade out. No, first I need to duplicate the keyframes. When you're copy pasting layers or keyframes on the same layer, you can just use Control-C, Control-V. But the reason I use the Motion 3 clone tool, or the Motion 3 plugin, and within that the clone function, is because you can't do that, the copy paste, on multiple layers. It then duplicates the layers, which is obviously not what you want. So that's when the clone function is handy, but because I'm so used to it, I use it even when I'm duplicating one set of keyframes. Okay, so this is where it finishes, and then it goes, note that hacking into a system is not a one-step process. So now it just shows one, and then shows another one, and then it shows rather than tech, and then we go into the highlighting the thing. And initially I thought I would do the same thing with the highlighting the column and then going to the next column, but I think maybe I want to bring in the character here already, not just at the end. I'll just do that because I need that animation anyway, and if Andy doesn't like that, we can still revert to this more simpler way of showing this attack map or scheme or whatever that is. So yes, so I'll just put a regular keyframe here, and then what does he say?
Note that hacking into a system is not a one-step process. No single item here.
Yep, so now at this stage, or rather I'll put that keyframe here, and that is the next new installment of that scene. So actually I think at this stage I'm going to just give these letter numbers, letter names, I don't know. So actually this is 3A because that's the start of that scene, then this is B, then this is C, because they're all, this is how I would name my precoms within the same scene. So if it's scene 3 and there are multiple precoms happening or stages happening, then it would be 3A, 3B, 3C, and so on. So I'm just going to do that. That way I can distinguish between the different stages of this scene. And basically now we're just bringing different, these different items back. And I think it's just 2, but we can see how many I have time for before this sentence finishes. And the sentence finishes at no single item here makes up one entire hack. So we're looking for entire hack. So let's listen to the audio.
Hacking into a system is not a one-step process. No single item here makes up an entire hack.
That's it. So this is entire hack, and the next stage will start here. So that's stage D. So from here, we want to highlight a few of these. Which one should I take? Maybe number 2. Why are a lot of these at the very end of the column? I didn't realize I chose so many at the end of the column. I want to choose this one. No, actually, that's the same column we just had. So maybe I'll keep this one. So now I can copy paste that here.
Note that hacking into a system is not a... Note that hacking into a system is... Note that hacking into...
Note that hacking... Okay, let's unhighlight it.
Note that hacking into a system is not one...
And then maybe I want to use this one. And then maybe we'll use this one. Excellent. And then the next stage is again the columns, but this is now this stage. So this is where the little character comes in. So stage D, and I can now right click on these, I'll just scroll up. I can right click on these markers and I can update markers from source. Now it's going to bring in all of the markers that I had in there. And actually this column N thing, I used that so I could create a loop of the beginning animation. I can remove that now. We don't need this marker anymore. And I can update this again. There we go. And also in this animation thing, I had a loop, a time remap and a loop. And I'm going to remove that because we're not dealing with this loop anymore. Okay, let's go back inside and we're at the framework level. And we want to be at D, and this is where the professor comes in. And at this stage, first I probably want to adjust some of the positioning and also the hierarchy of the assets. So let's link everything to the body that needs to be part of the body. All the legs, actually no, the feet. All of this needs to be part of the body. Then the foot left is parented to... Oh no, I have 2 foot left. Which one's left and which one's right? That one's left and that one's actually right. So let's rename that. And typos happen all the time. So I just need to make sure that... Okay, and I would like this... I think I'm going to parent this to the body like I did with the Andy character. I think that's going to work really well. That is not... This is the... come on. Yep, that's the right one. And that way, when I rotate this, it always rotates around the body. You see? And the arm... And the little stick. Where's the little stick? And the stick needs to be right behind the arm, actually. It needs to be parented to the arm. And it needs to be down here. Okay. And I want to rotate it a little bit. So it's like that. And then... What else? I think I've parented everything to the correct thing now. So now I think I want to go back to the first scene and have a look at how I animated this Andy character, because I think I really like it and I'd like to implement some of these moves. So we've got this coming in thing. And I think I'm going to put the control layer of this prof in the same position. So let's unparent this. Let's put it down here at the bottom of this body layer, and then I'm going to parent the body back to it. And then, you know what? I'm just going to... First, I'm going to give it a position keyframe. This is going to be the original position, because obviously the position of this character is different. But I'm just going to bring this in, and I need the bounce control as well. But let's bring this in as it is. Okay, the screen is now in the way. And it's giving me an error because I don't have the bounce control. So I need to bring that in. And if you would like to know what this layer is and why I have it and why it's called bounce control, it's part of my animation presets. Which I have in every one of my project files. I have like a After Effects project file template, and I have this preset layer, or composition rather, in here, and there's a bunch of bounce control is like the inertial bounce. So if something comes in and then kind of swings until it comes to a close, that's what I call bounce control. And then there's it's not inertial bounce, it's the other bounce where it like something falls on a surface and then bounces off of that surface rather than bouncing past it. I call that bounce back because it makes more sense to me that way. And I have a control layer set up with effects, with slider effects that are linked to a shape, a property on a shape layer that have all of those linked to this bounce control. So all I need to do is copy this control over to my composition, which I have done here. And then I can right click copy expression only on the property that is linked to that bounce control and paste that to the property I want to use that bounce on. And if you'd like to have access to this file, I'm going to very soon make this available to my patrons. So if you like, you can become a patron of mine and have access to all of these beautiful things. Yeah, if you like, that is an option for you. Let's go back to After Effects. Yeah, but if you are not able to support me monetarily, I appreciate that you show up to the live streams, that you give this video a thumbs up, and that you subscribe. That helps my channel out a lot as well. So, back to the animation. So we're here, and it has now...
An attack
Ooh,
will use
hey. Stop. Oh my god, After Effects, stop it! Holy shit, I hate when it does that. It just starts playing and it won't stop. So annoying. Okay, so obviously it's in like a completely wrong place. And where is my original? Here's my original position. And, oh, there we go. Now I can bring all of that down here. There we go. And I'm just going to keep this, and I'm going to give this a hold frame. And then we can see...
Rather, an attacker will use a combination of these...
Okay, it has an out animation, which right now we don't need.
Rather, an attacker will use a combination of the...
Why is that so slow? Okay, so it actually needs to be further out. And what else? I need to move all of the anchor points to a more sensible spot. Like, for example, the center of the leg. Come on. And same here. And also this should be rotating from the top center. And what else? The arm. Okay, we've got everything. So, what else? I think I want the hat to be doing the same thing when it bounces in. So let's bring the hat bounce in as well. Actually, it's just the first few keyframes. Yeah, it's just those. And they need to come in at 1 frame after the rotation. Okay, let's do that. 1 frame after the rotation. Where is the hat? Here. Okay.
An attacker will use a combination of these techniques. An attack.
And obviously it looks super weird that his leg is like straight like that. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate his leg up. So maybe it's going to be like this. And then and let's give that a 75%. This is too long. Actually, yeah, let's do it like this. Give this a little bit more breathing room. And let's give this a 75% velocity. Let's see what that looks like. So he kind of steps into the scene. Oh no, what did I do? I moved the leg. I didn't mean to do that. Oh no. No, I moved the leg. It's supposed to be like this. Okay. Yeah. And maybe we rotate this too.
Attacker will use a combination. Attacker will
Another reason why I don't tend to animate with this voiceover inside of my scenes is exactly this. I keep having to listen to like snippets of the audio while I'm replaying a few frames of the animation. That's a little bit annoying to me. I don't tend to do that, so. But
rather, an attacker will use a combination of these. Rather, an attacker will use a
and this other leg also should also have a little bit of rotation. And let's start with 12. Sure, why not? I know we can't see a lot of it, but if we see a little bit of that, it makes it a little bit more realistic.
Rather, an attacker will use a combination of.
So just the fact that the leg is, you can see this little bit of leg moving here, it's making it just a little bit more realistic. And and I might actually want to pull him up at some point or something like that. So I want to animate the whole thing as long as it's not too much work, too much additional work. And maybe I don't want him to come in quite so far. Oh, hello. Why are you not listening to what I'm saying? Hello. So fit up to 100% is usually shift and /, but it didn't want to do that. Okay, weird. Actually, maybe I'm going to do this later. And first I'm gonna have him pop up. So 0 and copy V. And the arm right. Where's the arm right? Yep. Maybe we'll rotate that down. Whoa, hey, where are you going? Okay, let's paste that here. And let's go. And this needs to be rotated more. This needs to be later. And I want this to give this a bit of an overshoot. And maybe I want the stick to be shorter. Yeah. Let's bring in, let's create shapes from vector layer. Oh no, it's not a stroke. Why is it not a stroke? I was sure it was a stroke. No. Okay. Let's bring in the Illustrator file. And let's see. This is a template. I think, yeah, this is also part of the template. Okay, let's see why this is. Oh, I see. It has the round point thing. Okay, let's instead make this 10 points and this rounded, and that way it should be the same. And I'll just save that. That should update, and then I can create shapes from vector layer, and now it should be a stroke. Excellent. And now I can just throw up trim paths at this, and I can make it shorter from the other direction. Hello. Whoa. Why does it have a taper? Why is it tapering? What? What? Why the hell is this tapering? I'm so confused. Why is it creating a tapered path? It's not supposed to be tapered. What is happening? There's no taper on this. Why is this making it super thin? What is happening? What? What the hell? Yeah, no, the taper function is included, but I'm using the trim path to make the path shorter. And instead of making the path shorter, it's adding a taper to it, which isn't there. What the hell? See? There is my taper there. Everything is at 0. What the hell? Oh my god. Why are you doing that? Why the hell are you doing that? Oh, I hate After Effects sometimes. There's absolutely no sense in this. God damn it. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I'll just make the original graphic shorter. I mean, what the hell is that? That is ridiculous. Nope, did not help. I tried that too. Pfft, I don't know. I just made the stick shorter. Fuck it. Look, it's being cut off in a really weird way. Why? It's like... Look at that. It's like nice and round here. It's like cut off here, where it's like at the edge of this layer for some reason. What is happening? What is happening? Did this not update correctly? Let's reload that footage. No. What the hell? After Effects, why are you being weird? This is why people want a competitor for After Effects to appear, because this is just ridiculous. Why would it do this? And now, all of a sudden, it has no problems. I just had to re-import it, which is really not something that I should have to do, you know? Anyway. Let's point at where I want this to point, which is that thing. And there's some sounds like somebody was coming into my room. Weird. Yeah, I know. And that's the problem with After Effects competitors. They wouldn't integrate with the other parts of the software. I mean, really, there would need to be a competitor that would provide all of the services that Adobe provides with, like Premiere, video editing, audio editing, Audition, vector illustration, Illustrator, InDesign, graphic design, layout design. It's a huge mountain to climb for anybody who wants to become a Adobe competitor. It seems like an impossible task. Okay, now the stick is kind of doing the little swing thing, but that's not enough. That looks a little strange, so I'm gonna give the hand the little swing as well. So now I want the hand to be at, yeah, -25, which means at this stage it's just a little further back. -30 sounds good. That is the downside with After Effects, or any Adobe product. They have so many errors built into them because they have never reinvented the code or cleaned up the code. They just keep building on top of it. And yeah, I mean, there is Cavalry, but Cavalry seems more like a shape version of After Effects, and I don't actually animate that often with shapes, so I've never really gotten into that. Yeah, and they're very new as well, these alternatives. Yeah, there are so many bugs from like way before it even was CC. Like in Illustrator, for example, and I was told this by an Adobe representative, like one of those experts that they sent out to companies to like help them figure out Adobe. The teams that develop Illustrator are in a different country. I think they're in India than the teams that develop After Effects, even though Illustrator and After Effects are supposed to like work together as software, there are certain presets in Illustrator that are made for like video projects, you know, like the artboards are set up for video projects, but they have like the artboards are like half a pixel off, so any artwork that you bring in from Illustrator using that preset or template or whatever it is, comes in as 0.5 pixels off in After Effects. It's like, if they're supposed to work together, if that's a preset for people who import stuff into After Effects, why the hell does it not match? And why the hell do you guys, the two teams, not talk to each other to optimize the workflow? It's just insane to me. Oh god. So yeah, there's a huge amount of having to create your own stuff when you're working with Adobe. I mean, most of my classes are built on creating your own workarounds because it's not possible. Oops, excuse me. Because there is something off on Adobe products, so you know.
Rather, an attacker will use a combination of these.
Okay, no, I thought the rotation would be kind of cool, but it really doesn't work. Oh no, I don't want to delete all the rotation, just this one.
Rather, an attacker will use a combination of.
I hate how slow it appears to be. And to check the playback. Why is the playback so weird? Okay, it's not skipping any frames. It shouldn't be so slow. Why is it so slow?
An attacker will use a combination of
Does this not have 75% velocity? There are lots of positives to After Effects, like the third-party extensibility. So I definitely agree with you there, Tom. They've created something nobody else in the space was able to create. So despite all of its faults, it's the industry leader for a reason. They are doing something that nobody has in the... I've been using After Effects for 12 years now, and I start with CS6. I think I even touched CS5 at some point before that, but, you know, there was nobody doing motion graphics products at the time. Motion graphics was... I did my bachelor thesis on motion graphics title templates, and I couldn't actually find any other research or any other theses on the subject. There was barely any books on the subject. So when I started motion graphics, the term motion graphics was relatively unknown in even the design industry. It was mainly the term, less so the concept. The concept has been around since the 50s, more or less, depending on what you define as motion graphics. But, you know, there's... that was the software that came around, and that was when people were like, oh cool, now we can do that stuff, you know. It's... yeah, I'm not surprised that they are the leader, but yeah, there's lots wrong with it, and unfortunately they are such a huge giant of a company now that a lot of these errors and bad old code, and that's really hard to eliminate now, you know? So I kind of get it. Okay. So let's bring this guy in. And at some point, at what point do we talk about this? At the order of the columns roughly is when the first thing is supposed to be highlighted.
An attacker will use a combination of
I really hate this.
An attacker will use a combination of
Actually, I want these to have a 33 velocity at the end there.
An attacker will use a combination of
Let's have a linear keyframe on this one.
An attacker will use a combination of these. An attacker will use a an attacker will use a combination of
Okay, so yeah, I think it's okay if I start here with the highlighting, and then when he says from system to system, that's when this is finished, and then we do the transition to, let's have a look at each tactic in a little bit more detail. Okay. Yeah, I agree. There needs to be some pressure from other companies for Adobe to really make a change.
An attacker will use a
So at this point, I want this item to be highlighted again. So now we have to go back into the screen. At this point, it's arguably, I could arguably dissolve this sub comp and bring it back into the main comp, because some of the lining up is now going to be, the keyframes are now in two different comps. Yeah. I don't know. But let's stick with this for now. Oh shit, it's I didn't realize it was so far up. I thought it was the last one in this column, so actually our little guy needs to come a little higher. He needs to be here. Even higher. And also, yeah, it's like jumping in and out of this is getting a little annoying. Now we want this circle, and I'm going to create shapes from vector. Or, no, actually, I mean, I could do that. I could do like a tapered little ring. Let me think. I think I'm going to create this. I'm going to create a sub comp for this this ring loop animation, so I don't have to keep doing that. So I'm going to pre-comp this. T-frame framework screen item circle. Huh. Why does the comp start here? Curious. That is really strange. Oh, it doesn't have the 59 minutes in here. Okay. That is super weird. Okay. I'm going to come to this beginning. I'm going to give it a marker so that I know that this is supposed to be the beginning of the comp. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to just create a mask. Oh. Oh, okay. I think I'm just gonna do like a stroke reveal. So, you know what? I can just bring in this circle. I think it should just... yeah, I'm just gonna push it over with Overlord and see what happens. What did you do? Okay. Didn't quite work. It doesn't have the same shape. Oh yeah, not all the circles are the same. I forgot about that. I made them slightly different, so... that's annoying. Maybe I just won't do that. Ah, that's so annoying. Good luck, Tom. I'm sure it's gonna be great. Did you manage to fix the color issues? That'd be awesome. Okay, I just realized that they're not all the same. So I can't make a comp out of them, so forget that. I'm just going to do this one by one. So, okay. I'm going to just push this over. And then I'll just give it the same taper treatment. But why doesn't it have the same shape as the other one? Yeah, it is off by a little bit for some reason, but that's okay. It's not a big deal. But I do need to add that taper. Okay, let's do start length. Yeah. But I also, this needs to be like thick. How thick is this? Let's find out with the width tool. It's 2 points? Really? That's just 2 points? That's a shame. Okay, well, I mean, that's fine. If you're gonna continue working on it and it's going to happen or be included eventually, that'd be cool. Because I actually, when it comes to my own brands, I do really care for them to look right. So I don't know if I'd want to use Anubis if the colors aren't right. But yeah, if there's going to be an update and this is just the first release, then I'm cool with that. So there's a question about what is Anubis. Maybe you can explain a little bit, Tom, if you're able. This is definitely not 2 pixels wide. It's way more than 2 pixels. I make this transparent and taper and definitely needs to be thicker, more like 10 probably, and this needs to be longer. Let's go 35, and this needs to be shorter, I think. I don't understand this easing. What does start width? Oh yeah, no. I definitely want the start and the end width to be 0. Huh. Okay, no, this is pretty good. It is pretty impressive how much Anubis compresses the size without loss of quality in an MP4. That blew my mind. So it is pretty cool in that sense. But yeah, the color was definitely a downside for me. Oh, the taper travels. That's pretty cool. I didn't realize that the taper travels. Lols. That's quite fun. Yeah. So when is the release coming, Tom? Can you say anything about that?
Attacker will use a combination of these techniques in order. Attacker will use a combat. Attacker will use a combat. Attacker will.
Oh, that's so fun.
Attacker will use a combination of these techniques in.
I love how the tape is obviously not animating. It's just staying within the range of what is considered end and start. But it looks like it's animating. That's super fun. I really like that. Okay, so we've got this one. And then we're just gonna continue until he says moves from system to system. Moves from system to system is the end of that segment. Sorry about that. Yeah, I'm a graphic designer at heart, unfortunately. I can see those slight differences. Ooh, very exciting. Yeah, those of us who work with color a lot, they can definitely see those tiny differences.
The combination of these techniques in order to achieve their objective.
Okay, achieve their objective. This is the end, and no, it's system from system to system. And then wait, where does it say achieve rather than achieve the objective? Okay, so it's actually sooner. This animation is gonna have to be pretty short.
Of these techniques in order to achieve their objective. The order of the columns roughly matches the order in which an attacker would need to apply each technique in an end-to-end attack, although in reality there's a fair bit of jumping around and repetition as an attacker moves from system to system. Let's have...
Okay. And E. This is where the end of this scene gets triggered, and this is the amount of time that we have to animate that. Let's hide some of these columns. Parent links, modes, yeah. Okay. So where is that animation? Here. Then we need the first arrow, which starts here, and this starts here. Aqua. Okay, that's animating in the wrong direction. Need to change the path direction, and for that I need switches. Okay. What? Oh, it was the wrong one. So that's the head and that's the body. And I think I want to trim them individually. So first this. And at this point we can have the next circle come up. Just that one. I'm gonna push that one over with Overlord again. Oh, did I push the first one instead of the second one instead of the first one? Huh. Okay, well, doesn't matter. And then at this point, the second item shows up. And this goes away. Oh, right. Also, the stroke. Oh, whoops, need to move that first. Okay, and then now I can show you a bit of the movement that I want to happen here. So I can bring in the markers. And then let's create a new marker for when the second one starts. And that one would be here. So then I can update the source. And the next movement would then be here. So whoa, it's rotating back quite a bit. Yep, that's way too much. That's maybe only rotate by this much. And I think he needs to go lower so that he can point to this one. And the arm movement should definitely happen after the body movement, so. And this is going too far past his head, and actually his arm should not be in front of his body at all. So let's bring that back. But it's moving way too far back. Maximum this much.
These techniques in order to achieve their objective. These techniques in order to achieve these techniques.
Okay. So something's off here. Okay, I think this needs to be at 10 frames rather than 20.
These techniques in order to achieve their objective. These techniques
and
in
this
order to
other arm, I'm not sure why it's like pointing away from his body. Let's bring it down here. All right. Actually, this video is pretty long. I think it's closer to 8 minutes. Because there's a lot of oh, is there am I buffering? Am I being too slow? Oh no! My connection has dropped. I'll be right back. Hi, my name is Sonja. I'm a motion graphics designer. I animate entertaining educational videos, client ads, and a whole Hi, my name is Sonja. I'm a motion graphics designer. I